Have you ever known someone who was once a legend, but chose to disappear? Someone who gave everything to the world only to be forgotten by it? This is the story of Doc Hudson, the greatest racer of his time, a champion who lost everything, and a hero who found peace again in the most unexpected way. This is how the fabulous Hudson Hornet fell, disappeared, and rose again through the one racer who reminded him what it meant to be alive. He was also a beloved friend to everyone in Radiator Springs. But how did Doc Hudson first become famous? When Doc started racing in 1951, the same year his real-life car model came out, racing was completely different. There were no official racetracks, no big prize money, and no pit crews. A lot of racers had even learned to drive fast while smuggling moonshine. It was all dirt tracks and tough cars, and Doc was ready to dominate. So what made Doc Hudson so good? His car had a low center of gravity, which helped him corner better than almost everyone else. He also had something called Twin H power, which basically meant his engine could mix air and fuel better and accelerate faster. Other cars just couldn't follow his racing line without crashing, so they could rarely catch car number 51. When he arrived at Thomasville Speedway, which would become his home track, he proudly called himself the Fabulous Hudson Hornet, and he proved that he deserved the name. His friend Smokey, a Piston Cup team owner and mechanic, helped train and support him through his racing career. With Smokey's guidance, Doc began beating the best racers of the time. River Scott, Louise Barnstormer Nash, and even Junior Midnight Moon couldn't stop him. Doc ended his first full season with 13 victories and won the 1951 Piston Cup, but that was only the beginning. In 1952, Doc made history by winning 27 races in a single season, a record that has never been broken, and took another Piston Cup. Then, in 1953, he won 22 more races and earned his third Piston Cup in a row, becoming one of the greatest dirt racers ever. He even inspired future champions like Strip the King Weathers, who went on to win 7 Piston Cups himself. But in 1954, during the Fireball Beach 500, Doc suffered a terrible crash. He had pulled far ahead, but lost control on the sand and flipped over and over. He survived, but his racing career didn't. When Doc finally recovered and tried to return to the track, he was told racing had moved on without him. A new rookie had taken his place. Doc was never allowed to race again. Heartbroken, he cut ties with the racing world, even with Smokey. 2 years later, he started a new chapter. Doc went back to school at Northern Pneumatic Polytechnic and studied for 4 years. In 1962, he became a doctor of internal combustion, basically a car doctor. He even changed his license plate to reflect it. 51, his racing number, HH, Hudson Hornet, MD, Doctor. After Doc became a doctor, he chose to disappear from the world. Around the mid-1950s, Route 66 was slowly dying as Interstate 40 was being built to replace it. That made it the perfect place for Doc to hide away. When he arrived in Radiator Springs, the town was already struggling, so the residents warmly welcomed him when he opened the Ornament Valley Mechanical Clinic. Doc fixed spark plugs, repaired engines, and made sure everyone in town stayed healthy. His wisdom, toughness, and quiet kindness slowly made him one of the most respected members of the community. Even though he stayed private, the people of Radiator Springs accepted him as one of their own. Eventually, Doc even became the town judge. But no matter how much he loved Radiator Springs, a part of him never healed. Doc was still hurt and bitter about the way his racing career ended. In his garage, he kept the newspaper article of his crash hanging on the wall, reminding himself why he could never go back. His trophies no longer felt like victories. They felt empty. Over 50 years passed. Then, in 2006, the racing world came crashing back into Doc's life when Lightning McQueen accidentally drove into Radiator Springs and tore up the road. Doc wanted him gone immediately, but the town convinced him to make Lightning repair the road first. From the start, Doc saw everything he hated about racing in Lightning. Lightning was cocky, selfish, rude, and completely sure he was better than everyone else. So Doc challenged him to a race around Willie's Butte, knowing Lightning had no idea how to handle racing on dirt. As expected, Lightning took a turn too fast, lost control, and spun out into a ditch. "You drive like you fix roads. Lousy." Even though Doc didn't want a racer around, he enjoyed watching the flashy rookie struggle. What he didn't expect was Lightning's persistence. Lightning stayed up all night trying to master the dirt turn and even fixed the road beautifully. Doc began to see something more in him: determination. Doc tried to help, but Lightning didn't listen. And when Lightning discovered Doc's racing past without permission, the old pain came flooding back. It hurt to be reminded of the life he lost, and even worse, Lightning tried to tell the town who Doc used to be, something Doc had chosen to bury. Deep down, Doc did want to reconnect with his old self, but he was terrified that if he returned to racing, the world would hurt him again, just like before. Once Lightning finished rebuilding the road, he decided to stay in Radiator Springs, even though his big final race of the season was coming up. He stayed because the town had shown him kindness, and he wanted to give that back. But Doc couldn't stand having racing in his life again, so he secretly called the media and told them where Lightning was, hoping it would force the rookie to leave. It worked, but the moment Lightning was gone, everything felt empty. The town went quiet, the neon signs turned off, and Doc found himself alone again. Lightning hadn't just brought life back to Radiator Springs, he had brought life back to Doc. And Doc realized he didn't want that feeling to fade. So Doc repainted himself as the Fabulous Hudson Hornet once again, gathered a pit crew from Radiator Springs, and drove to the Los Angeles International Speedway to be Lightning McQueen's crew chief in the biggest race of the season. The legend had returned, and everyone was stunned. With Doc guiding him, Lightning had the chance to win it all. But when the King crashed in a terrible accident, almost exactly like the one Doc suffered years before, Lightning made a different choice. Instead of taking the victory, he helped the King finish his final race with dignity. Lightning didn't win the Piston Cup that day, but Doc saw that Lightning had become a true champion at heart. After that, Lightning moved his headquarters to Radiator Springs, putting the town back on the map. Fans and racers visited, businesses reopened, and the town started to shine again. They even built a museum dedicated to Doc's racing history. Racing slowly became part of Doc's life again, in a healthy way. He opened up. He laughed more. He reconnected with old friends like Smokey, proud to tell them about Lightning's success. And together, Doc and Lightning went on to win 3 Piston Cups. These were the happiest years of Doc's life. But eventually, Doc passed away. We don't know how, maybe old age, maybe illness, but we do know he left peacefully after finding joy again. After his passing, the Piston Cup was renamed in Doc's honor. His clinic became a museum. Thomasville Speedway built a statue of him. And every year, Ramon created a Dia de los Muertos ofrenda to honor his memory. Doc's racing number 51 was passed on to Lightning's student, Cruz Ramirez. And when Lightning eventually retired with 7 Piston Cups, he took on the title of Fabulous, painted himself in Doc's classic dark blue, and carried forward his mentor's legacy. Doc Hudson may be gone, but his spirit still leads the track. In the end, Doc Hudson didn't just leave behind trophies or records. He left behind something far more important: a legacy. A legacy carried by Lightning McQueen, by Cruz Ramirez, by Radiator Springs, and by every racer who still remembers the name Fabulous Hudson Hornet. Doc taught them that being a champion isn't about crossing the finish line first. It's about who you become along the way. So tell me, what does Doc Hudson mean to you? Let me know in the comments. And hey, don't forget to like the video, comment your thoughts, and subscribe for more stories just like this. Because legends don't die. They become the road that others race on.